Well, we've just had the wrapping up of the NATO meeting, Alex, in the last hour or so. All NATO leaders, 30 of them here in Brussels for an extraordinary meeting, including the US President Joe Biden, as you say, who travelled over from the United States last night. The first time he's been in Europe since the war in Ukraine began. He's due to travel to Poland tomorrow, but also to an EU leaders summit later on today. That is the third of three meetings, the G7 currently meeting as we speak, including, of course, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson. NATO members talking about extra military support for Ukraine, but also talking about bolstering their eastern flank, essentially providing extra deployments to countries like Bulgaria, Romania and Hungary. Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary-General, has been speaking in a press conference in the last couple of minutes.
Leaders approved our 4 new battle groups in Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania and Slovakia. These are in addition to the 4 already in the Baltic countries and Poland. So we have 8 multinational NATO battle groups now, from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. Across Europe, there are 100,000 US troops supporting NATO efforts, and European allies and Canada have also stepped up. We have 40,000 forces under direct NATO command, mostly in the eastern part of the alliance, backed by major air and naval power, including an unprecedented 5 carrier strike groups from the high north to the Mediterranean. Today, NATO leaders agreed to reset our deterrence and defence for the longer term, to face a new security reality. On land, we will have substantially more forces in the eastern part of the alliance at higher readiness, with more pre-positioned equipment and supplies. In the air, we will deploy more jets and strengthen our integrated air and missile defense. At sea, we will have carrier strike groups, submarines, and significant numbers of combat ships on a
We heard from the Prime Minister Boris Johnson a little bit earlier on today, Alex, setting out what the UK was doing, and that includes sanctioning 65 different individuals essentially connected with the Putin regime in Russia, but also that the UK is going to be supplying greater military hardware to the Ukrainians as well, including up to 6,000 missiles and an extra 25 million quid to help the Ukrainians pay for soldiers' wages and for rationings as well. Though the UK does want to see other countries, most notably I think Germany, pick up the slack when it comes to supplying hardware, military hardware to the Ukrainians. We are expecting further announcements of sanctions potentially later on today as well from the EU and the United States when they do have that extraordinary EU leaders meeting. We reckon that's going to start around 6 p.m. here, local time. President Zelensky is due to dial in and talk to those leaders at around 7 p.m. And just on a side note, before I let you go, Alex, as well, is that Jens Stoltenberg, the man you just saw there, the NATO Secretary-General, it's essentially been confirmed today that he is now going to stay on in that post for at least another year. He was due to retire in the autumn from that job, but given the situation NATO finds itself, NATO leaders had concluded it was much better he stayed in post.